Hello, you're listening to Midnight Whisper, a gentle, safe space to unwind. Settle in if you like, or stay just as you are. Let the words flow gently into the background and ease into the quiet. The suitcase that grew lighter each year. Long ago, in a small town where the streets were narrow and the rooftops were low, there lived a young woman. She was not famous. She was not important in any grand way. She was simply a daughter who had grown up. And like many daughters, she had left her home to live and work far away. Each year, when the cold season had arrived and the air began to smell like smoke and winter oranges, the town would prepare for the new year. Windows were cleaned, floors were swept, red paper was hung carefully on doorways. The whole town seemed to breathe a little slower, as if the year itself was taking a quiet pause. And each year, the young woman would return home. She always returned on the same day, not because she was forced, not because anyone demanded it, but because something inside her always remembered the way home. The journey was long, first a bus, then a train. Sometimes she stood in crowded stations, with her coat buttoned high. Sometimes she sat by a foggy window and watched winter fields pass slowly. But no matter how tired she was, she kept going. And each year she carried a suitcase, a large suitcase, a heavy one. The first year she returned, she had only been away for a short time. But she arrived with a suitcase full of things. New clothes, small gifts, boxes of snacks, bottles of tea. Things she thought her family might like. Things she thought would prove she had done well. When she arrived, her mother opened the door, before she even knocked. Her father stood behind her, quiet and steady. The young woman bowed her head slightly, as if she was still a child. Then she lifted her suitcase with both hands and carried it inside. Her mother touched the suitcase and said, "So heavy." Her father nodded and said back, "You've worked hard." The young woman smiled, but inside she felt something strange, because the suitcase was heavy, and her heart was heavy too. That night, her mother cooked her favourite dishes. Her father warmed tea on the stove. The house smelt like ginger, rice, and wood smoke, and for a moment, the young woman felt she could finally rest. But when she lay down to sleep, her mind would not become quiet. She kept thinking, did I bring enough? Did I bring the right things? Will they think I'm doing well? The new year came. Firecrackers sounded in the distance. Lantern light flickered softly. And the young woman sat at the table with her family, smiling, eating, listening. But she did not fully relax. Not yet. When it was time to leave again, her mother packed her suitcase with food, dried fruit, homemade buns, small jars of pickles. Her father placed an extra scarf inside, folded neatly. The young woman carried the suitcase back to the station. It was heavy, heavier than when she arrived, and so The year passed. The second year, she returned again. She had been away longer. She had worked harder. And she arrived with an even heavier suitcase. This time, it was filled with gifts. A warm coat for her mother. A new kettle for the kitchen. A small blanket for her father. And things for her relatives she rarely saw. Her mother smiled politely. Her father thanked her. The relatives nodded and said, "You've grown." The young woman smiled too, but inside she felt tired, as if she had been carrying something for a long time. That night, her mother washed the dishes, while the young woman sat quietly beside her. The young woman said, "I'm sorry, I'm not home more." Her mother did not stop washing. She simply said, "You are home now." The young woman looked down. She did not know what to say. The third year, she returned again, and the fourth, and the fifth. Each year, the suitcase was heavier. Sometimes it was heavy with gifts. Sometimes it was heavy with new clothes. Sometimes it was heavy with things she did not even remember packing. And each year, her mother would touch the suitcase and say, "So heavy." And her father would say, "You've worked hard." But slowly, the young woman began to notice something. No matter what she brought, her mother's happiest moment was always the same. It was not when she opened a gift. It was not when she saw a new coat. It was not when she tasted a snack from the city. Her mother's happiest moments was always the moment the door opened, the moment her daughter stepped inside, the moment her shoes touched the floor, the moment her voice filled the room again. Her father was the same. He did not speak much. But each year, he would take her suitcase without asking. He would carry it inside, and he would set it down gently, as if it mattered. One year, the young woman returned home late. The train had been delayed. The roads were icy. The sky was already dark. She arrived with a suitcase that was heavy, as always. But when she opened the door, her mother did not look at the suitcase. She did not ask what she brought. She did not even step forward. She simply let out a long breath and said, "Good, you're safe." In that moment, the young woman felt something soften inside her, like ice melting quietly in a bowl of warm water. That night, she laid in bed and listened to the house. The soft sounds of home, a kettle, a door closing, her father's footsteps, the wind against the window, and she thought, maybe I have been carrying too much. The next year, when she prepared to return home, she stood in her small apartment and looked at her suitcase. It was open on the floor. At first, she packed the usual things: snacks, gifts, new clothes. Then she stopped. She sat down beside the suitcase, and she asked herself quietly, "Why am I bringing all of this?" She thought about her mother's face at the door. She thought about her father's carrying the suitcase without a word. She thought about the table, warm and full, and she realized they did not need proof. They did not need performance. They did not need her to arrive carrying a heavy story. They only wanted her to arrive. So she began to remove things from the suitcase, one by one. She put the extra gifts back on the shelf. She folded the new clothes away. She left behind the things she had packed out of worry. In the end, the suitcase only held a few simple things: a warm sweater, a small bag of fruit, a jar of tea, and a scarf. When she lifted it, she felt surprised. It was light. Not empty, but light. At the station, she walked more easily. Her shoulders did not ache. Her hands did not tighten around the handle. On the train, she sat by the window. The fields outside were pale and quiet. The sky was the colour of steamed milk, and she felt something she had not felt in many years. She felt calm. When she arrived home, her mother opened the door. Her father stood behind her. Her mother looked at the suitcase and said, "So light." The young woman smiled. She said softly, "Yes." Her mother looked at her face carefully, as if seeing her for the first time. Then mother nodded and said, "Good." That night, the New Year table was set. The same wooden table, the same familiar bowls, the same warm dishes. The young woman sat down. She ate slowly. She listened to her parents' voices. She noticed the small things, the way her mother's hands moved when she poured tea, the way her father's eyes softened when he looked at her. And for the first time in many years, she did not feel like she was trying to prove anything. The next morning, she helped her mother sweep the floor, not because she was told, but because she wanted to. Her father went outside and returned with winter oranges. He placed them on the table. He said, "Eat." The young woman peeled an orange carefully. The scent filled the room. She looked around the house, the familiar walls, the old clock, the quiet light, and she understood something. A suitcase can carry many things: gifts, clothes, food. But sometimes the heaviest thing inside a suitcase is not an object. It is expectation. And when you finally set the expectation down, the road home becomes gentler. From that year onward, the young woman still returned home every New Year. She still carried a suitcase, but each time the suitcase grew lighter. Not because she cared less, but because she finally understood. Home does not measure love by weight. And the old folk saying from that town was, "The road home is long, but it is not meant to be carried."